What? This one's how a hacker saved the internet. Hacker? Man? Where's the green text? I'm hitting spacebar, nothing's happening. I can't even push play.
Andres is running some routine software tests.
This is a different voice.
At first, everything looks pretty normal. But then, he spots something. This peak
Hacker
here
man.
is not a typical
A
CPU load.
frequency.
Not a huge problem, but it's annoying. Plus, he can't make sense of it right away. Little does Andres know that this is not just some random bug. It's a
FBI
cleverly
agents.
hidden backdoor, one that's been planted over years by hostile forces, possibly state-sponsored hackers.
What?
Now it's set to spread globally and give the perpetrators access to millions of servers around the world. To the systems of hospitals, companies, and entire governments. A master key to the internet and everything connected to it, right in the hands of criminals. Andres doesn't know about any of this yet, but he's about to literally save the internet.
Whoa.
To understand this story, we first need to take a little detour into software engineering and a very particular little piece of code. A lot of software out there is company owned, like Word, which belongs to Microsoft. Only Microsoft employees can tweak and further develop that software. But then there's software that is open source. It works kind of like Wikipedia. The source code is out in the open for anyone to see and use. Basically, anyone can contribute and suggest changes. That has led to the creation of many programs that are fundamental to our digital infrastructure. While anyone can pitch in on open source projects, there are usually a few people in charge. These so-called maintainers have the final say on the code and review any changes before they get implemented. Lasse Collin is one of these maintainers. He has been working for years on the Linux tool xzutils. Linux is the most widely used open source operating system in the world. You may not be running Linux directly on your own computer, but it powers most of the world's servers, mainframes, and every single one of the top 500 supercomputers. XZ is a data
What?
compression format
I don't
included
know
in
what that
pretty much
means.
all
What's
major
a
Linux
supercomputer?
distributions. A Linux distribution is like a full package of all
Just
the
super
essential
fast?
programs your computer needs to run.
2 plus 2.
Different distros are designed for different purposes.
4.
xzutils compresses and
No?
packages data so it can be transferred and stored faster.
2 plus 2.
It's kind of like zip files. Colin developed the tool back in 2005. As its maintainer, he has been in charge
8.
of all changes to xzutils ever since. He reviews suggested edits and then approves them, or not. Once the approved changes...
So my guess is someone social engineered him, sent him a bad code he noticed, either it got through, not got through.
are in place, a new version of xzutils can be included in Linux distros. But lately that process has hit a bit of a snag. 2 volunteer developers are not happy with how Colin has been handling his maintenance duties. They feel like he's way too slow in responding to change requests and messages. Dennis Entz is clearly frustrated when he asks for updates.
I asked a question here a week ago and have not heard back.
Jigar Kumar also seems fed up with how slow things are moving.
With your current rate, I very doubt to see 4.0 release this year. The only progress since April has been small changes to test code.
He even suggests that they might need a new maintainer.
Dennis, you are better off waiting until a new maintainer happens or fork yourself. Submitting patches here has no purpose these days. The current maintainer lost interest or doesn't care to maintain anymore.
Lasse Collin appears to be struggling with the workload. After all, his work on xzutils is just an unpaid hobby. But Entz and Kumar clearly want someone who can dedicate more time to the project and respond faster to their suggestions. In response to Kumar's message, Collin writes,
I haven't lost interest, but my ability to care has been fairly limited. Mostly due to long-term mental health issues, but also due to some other things.
He also says,
Recently, I've worked off-list a bit with Giatan on xzutils, and perhaps she will have a bigger role in the future, we'll see.
Giatan first pops up on the developer platform GitHub in January 2021. For over a year she contributes to other projects. Then, in 2022,
Is this a
she
fake
starts
account?
submitting changes for XZ utils. From that point on, she becomes a regular contributor. Tan is dedicated and polite. She writes friendly messages and helps out wherever she can.
Nice job to both of you for getting this feature as far as it is already.
Is she the
Let me know your
fucking
thoughts on these patches
social
when you have a
engineer?
chance. Is it good enough or did I add bad bugs? Just trying to do my
Smiley
part as a
face?
helper elf.
2 smiley face, 1 with a
Maybe
nose.
after getting all those
Helper
annoyed
elf.
messages from Enz and Kumar, Colin is just relieved to finally have some help. Someone to lighten the load and actively
She
push the
is
project. At one point, Colin
the
explains that a
engineer.
maintainer needs the skills, time and interest to really stay committed to the software. And Tan seems to check all those boxes.
Helper elf?
Back then, Colin
Yeah,
doesn't
we
realize that
interesting.
something is seriously
Yeah,
off
but
about her.
we called it. We win those.
This video,
Gamba no
hopefully,
gamba.
offers a glance into the fascinating world of programming. If you're getting inspired by this story, why not learn more about the subject?
All I
Enter
hear is
Brilliant
social
to
engineering.
feature
It's brilliant.
Brilliant would like loops. As you'll already start your thing, there are interest range of 30-20% promoted to co-maintainer.
Go brilliant.
In June 2022,
Use the
gets
code.
promoted to co-maintainer.
Don't use honey. Use their code. No honey. Don't stop using honey.
Takes on more and
Number
more control
1,
of the project over the
knowledgeable.
course of the year. She starts editing XZ utils on her own, and in March 2023, she changes the contact mail at OSFAS, a service that helps identify bugs in open source projects. From now on, security alerts are no longer sent to Colin, but exclusively to Tan. Shortly after, a new user named Hans Janssen submits a change request for XZ, and Tan approves it.
And that was the code.
9 months later, March 2024,
A baby.
Janssen sends a message to the Debian project. Debian is a widespread Linux-based operating system known to be stable and secure.
9 months later,
Janssen wants the Debian team to include a new version of XZ utils in an upcoming Debian version, saying it will fix a specific bug. 2 other users chime in to praise the fix, Grigorin and Miso Eater. And when another user raises concerns, Grigorin is clearly annoyed and quickly shuts them down.
Instead of having a policy debate over who is proper to do this upload, can this just be fixed?
Shortly after, the Debian project integrates the new version of XZ utils into a preliminary version of their operating system called SID. Around the same time, Andres Freund is working as a developer at Microsoft. He has also been active.
That's why it's like the tisms or whatever. You're just like, I don't know, something's off and I don't like it. Like for me, I'll just shut down. I'm like, no, I poop. I don't like this. Dude, every video game, I feel like, and you could tell in video games because sometimes they have spooky music or whatever. But when it comes to this, dude, I would have known because of her smiley face. That was probably fake text though. But 2 smiley faces, 1 with a nose, 1 without a nose. Something's off. Yeah, if a girl texts me hi, and they're both lowercase, and she usually texts in like always upper, I'm like, something's off. She wants the G. She wants the Pablo P. No, but that's the no, I canceled. Yeah, but then it's like, I don't know, dude. She sends hi. Once capitalized, I'm like, huh, everything's normal. Too normal. She's cheating on me.
Contributing
No.
to an open source project. He has just downloaded the latest
just
version
say
of
it,
SID
you know?
to run some tests for his project. SID is not for public release and marked as unstable and insecure. Developers can test it
Not
for
like, oh,
bugs
pretty
before
girl joins the chat. No, dude, I'm like, pretty girl joins the chat. I'm like, that's a 50-year-old man. I don't trust it. Why is the profile picture anime? I'm joking. She's into coding and anime. What's your favorite anime? I don't know anything about anime, so when I ask people that, I'm like, yeah, me too.
new features get officially integrated.
One Punch Man?
And during his tests, Andres notices
Yo, the amount of
something
times
strange. Something is taking up way too many resources in SSH. SSH is used to remote access Linux machines. Why is SSH draining such
I
a
bring up
crazy amount
Dragon
of
Ball Z
CPU?
Abridged,
Something is
night,
off.
just for the disappointment.
He also notices a considerable drop
It's
in
my favorite. Team
performance,
4
a
stars?
lag of 500 milliseconds. that's half a second. Something nobody else would ever notice. But Andres does. So he takes a closer look at SSH and realizes that the delay is related to executils. On many Linux distributions, SSH has a dependency on executils. That means that certain exec functions are invoked when
What? So
SSH
as
is
the computer's functioning or whatever, sending the dial codes or whatever, it sends a bunch of shit through XS, and that was the spike. But that spike was legit like a millisecond. He saw it tick up a millisecond, and he was like, "Something's off. My porn usually loads faster than this." No,
executed.
I don't know.
Andres digs deeper into executils and discovers that someone has slipped in a malicious piece of code. And this code allows that someone to sneak into the system via SSH. It's a backdoor. This backdoor is so well hidden that no one caught it while reviewing and testing the code. A phenomenal, scary attack. But this disguise is slowing the malicious code down. And it's that exact delay that Andres' Freund has noticed when starting SSH.
What?
On March 27, he sends an email to inform the Debian security team about his findings. 2 days later, he goes public. He publishes a post on Mastodon. The malicious code is hidden in 2 versions of executils, and Andres also has a hunch as to who might have planted it. Gia Tan. She had secretly added the backdoor to a version of executils just before Andres found it. When Andres makes his findings public, all hell breaks loose.
Did one guy just stop a huge cyber attack? This may be one of the biggest stories of this year.
Curiosity may have saved us from a devastating cyber attack.
The US Cyber Defense Agency issues an emergency security alert. Luckily, the tampered software hasn't spread far yet, but it has already infiltrated test versions of several major Linux distros.
It was a
meaning
complete
it was
accident
just on
that,
the verge of massive deployment.
because if he wasn't looking
An
at
army
the
of
the
developers
spikes,
and cybersecurity experts
he would
jump
have
into
never seen it
action.
lag.
Within just a few hours, they built a fix to neutralize the backdoor. Had it actually made its way into the code of multiple operating systems, the consequences could have been catastrophic. The attackers could have gained unauthorized remote access to countless systems. It would have been the master key to hundreds of millions of computers and servers around the world.
A story
Linux
that Michael from Vsauce, I don't want to chime in too much, but I mean, like, how do you even react? But then it's like, there was a nuclear war going on. There was people in submarines. This was during Cuba's Missile Crisis. There's 3 Russian people in a submarine, and they were hearing like explosions or something go off. And I forget what it was, but maybe they were just testing it in the waters, and that's why it was exploding, or maybe it was like a natural disaster. But they thought it was nuclear war, and there was 3 votes, and 2 of them was like, "Fuck it, let's nuke." And they had like literally a nuclear submarine, and the third guy was like, "No, we go up, we surrender." And that was and if that would have happened in the Cuban, like literally one guy is the reason why humanity is still alive. Like that back then, if that Cuban Missile Crisis would have like nuked the whole world, dude, none of us would even, like, that's wild. I forget what his name was. Like, it was like an untold story. They went back to Russia as like failures because it's like they had to surrender, and it was like there was only like a certain amount of people on the ship that were like could make the decision, and there was like 2 against 1, but because he was like, "No, I don't want to start a war," or like they were thinking about contributing to it. I'm finding similarities in
operating
this one
systems
guy
are
who
used in
hacked.
schools,
Found the hack.
universities, and hospitals. The White House, the House of Representatives, and the Senate all use Linux.
Like, he saved the
In one fell
cyber
swoop,
world.
the
The
attackers
other
could
guy
have
saved
taken
the
down
physical
critical
world.
services across the
Fucking
globe.
nuke.
They could have spread malware or stolen sensitive information. There's no other way to put it. The world dodged a major bullet, thanks to Andres Freund, the
Shout out to
silverback
Andres.
gorilla of nerds, the internet's final boss. The Microsoft developer is praised like a hero.
Oh wow, look, did you see
The
that?
internet's final boss. The Microsoft
It takes a few milliseconds longer to connect Andres feud. Something's wrong, I can feel it.
developer is
that Eminem?
praised like a hero.
CPU at 100%, random guy. $1 billion state hacker backdoor, random guy.
And naturally,
Yeah, but his CPU wasn't at 100. Like I think, I mean, was it? Like that's why it was so impressive was because it was running normally. And then right when he had that like open the application, it like spiked and he was like, it's not supposed to spike. I've used this 1 million times.
His story becomes a meme. Even Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella gives him a shout out for his efforts. Everyone is relieved,
Well, who's
disaster
that?
has been averted, the shock is wearing off. But the real question remains: who did this? Who is really behind Jia Tan? Andres Freund doesn't believe this was the work of just one person. He suspects Jia Tan had backup. These users are suspected of being involved. It looks like
Kumar.
Ants and Kumar deliberately put pressure on Lasse Collin to clear the way for Jia Tan. Then Janssen, Grigorin, and Mizuita pushed the update through. This whole attack was a masterclass in social engineering. That's when attackers manipulate people into doing
So
something they
no hack.
shouldn't, like making you accidentally give up a password or holding a high security door for someone who appears to be pregnant. The alleged group behind Jia Tan was insanely clever. Infiltrating XZU tools took not only technical skill, but a ton of patience. Remember, Jia Tan spent an entire year building trust by contributing to other projects before even suggesting changes for XZU tools. Then another 2 years passed before she slipped in the back door. Experts think this was likely the work of state-sponsored hackers. But what state would that be? There's no trace of Jia Tan online. At first glance, Jia Chong Tan seems Chinese. The timing of the posts lines up with the UTC +8 time zone. But that might just be a smokescreen to hide the hacker's true identity and location. Would someone who spends years crafting such an intricate plan, building trust and
NA?
slowly gaining control, really leave such obvious breadcrumbs? Faking time zones isn't hard. What if the people behind Jia Tan simply
CIA.
changed the time zone on their computer to UTC +8 before each
T.
contribution? At least that's what an analysis of her account suggests. The same analysis shows that Jia Tan has worked through major Chinese holidays. That's weird. And it's even weirder that the account was silent on Christmas and New Year's, which are just
American.
regular business days in China. Plus, if Jia really lived in the UTC +8 time zone, she would have always been working through the night. The analysis suggests that Jia Tan might actually reside in Eastern Europe. There seem to be a couple of incidents where they forgot to forge the time zone. There were 3 commits made in UTC +2 and 6 in UTC +3. Now, if we assume Jia Tan lives in one of those time zones, she would have typically started working at 9 a.m. and clocked out by 5 p.m. Sounds like a regular job. Experts believe Jia Tan's trail might actually lead to Russia. More specifically to
Russian
APT-29,
hacker.
also known as Cozy Bear. This state-sponsored hacker group
Cozy
is
Bear?
famous for their sophisticated attacks. The style of the XZU tools hack would fit right in with their usual playbook, but so far there's no solid proof. Open source obviously has its advantages, but if this case proves anything, it's how vulnerable our digital infrastructure can be. We came way too close to a major meltdown. A lot of our critical infrastructure today
This is wild. This
relies
is gonna
on
be an
open
ad?
source software, on programs that are
NordVPN.
often maintained solely by the passion and commitment of volunteers, by people who do this on the side as a hobby. People like Lasse Collin, who may get overwhelmed by the sheer scale of their projects. If we want our digital systems to be secure, we need to build the right structures as a society and support the open source community. The XZUtils attack was insanely sophisticated, and we have to assume there are more of those to come. We can only hope that, when the time comes, the world will have another hero like Andres Freund ready to step up.
You guys, step up. This is a dance movie. Huh? Very topical.